Hey, hey, welcome back to our Retire Early lifestyle, and I'm back. I feel like I haven't been around, and I haven't for one reason or another, thanks to my wife's amazing creative inclination. She's been putting out, she kept putting the content out, but there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We talk about Retire Early lifestyle, everything that affects it. There's been some security issues here that I'm going to talk about. And then I'm going to talk about, there's been and has been and will be, I imagine, people going abroad for freedom. I mean, you got like Max Kaiser, you know, you got the rich people, then you got the retirees, and now they're telling people, just average Joe, young person with a job, oh, hey, you can't afford America, you got to go abroad to live. There's a lot of stuff to talk about, but when I talk about this stuff, I don't our regular viewers know we're not doing it to promote a specific place. We tend to step back and take a more of a worldview thing, you know, a larger, you know, we back up a little bit and take a little bit of a grander view. And we just want to help people see things before they happen. Yeah, we haven't been to the beach in a while. I'm really glad to be here. And there's security here now, armed security. I don't know if you saw it. Oh, there it is. There's one right there. We just talked to one of them. And a lot of our viewers know we've been here going on 3 years. And there's never been armed security. And there hasn't been a need for it. Matter of fact,
they're all over now.
Matter of fact, we've talked to friends, American friends that we met in Ecuador, that we've always talked about going to Mexico. And of course, you know, oh no, don't do that. That's really bad there. The crime, and it's true, it is. But we found a spot here where, you know, at least for the last couple of years, there hasn't been any stressful issues. But now we've been away from the beach, I was getting ready to say, for so many months, and came back and saw this change. And so we decided, well, let's talk to them and see what they say. And he said there's been some robberies now. And so now they're permanently stationed here, and they are armed security, and you see them every 100 feet. And there's always been a kind of a presence of vagrants and such. It's been harmless, but last few times it seemed like it was starting to get dicier than dicey, and so we stopped coming. That's what we did. And so we're glad to see the armed security. And so, no, we're not promoting Mexico. You know, a lot of people know that there's a lot of security issues in a lot of places. But there's more than that. There's so much, and not just Mexico, everywhere. As you know, if you've seen any of the videos, I'm not going to go there and talk about that stuff again. And how many people are going abroad for freedom? Our liberty is freedom with responsibility, and we subscribe to the liberty. But take, for example, we lived in Ecuador for 8 years, and a lot of people are doing this, and they're going abroad. I say the more people that do this, and there seems like it's an avalanche now, that more and more people and more, and you thought it was a lot then, but it's just increasing, and it keeps increasing exponentially. And so it's inevitable you're going to hear more and more disaster stories of people that did all the things we tell people not to do, because we just know better. You know, I won't go revisit them, but and so a lot of people are going abroad for freedom. A lot of people, different people, go for different reasons. But you see these people that go for the quote-unquote for the health care, and you see them go to these far-flung places that if they would have had a personal consultation, right, with yours truly, because, and you could say, but Frank, they already know what you're going to tell them before you tell them, and so they don't need your consultation. Well, you know, you could say that, but you can't really say that because you don't really know what I'm going to say. It's just that there are different ways to bake a cake. Like I watched this video this morning, 3 different ways to make fruit crumble. So, you know, I mean, you can sit there and watch a video about how to make one fruit crumble one way, or you can watch a video how to make 3 different ways so that you can decide which way. That's what consultation's all about. You know, it's not, oh, here's the guy that's going to tell you don't do this. You know, no, I'm going to tell you, well, I wouldn't recommend doing it this way, but you could do it this way, or you could do it this way, you know, and you could just have a conversation. And a lot of times, it's not about mind expanding solutions. It's just, a lot of times, it's just reaffirming what you thought might be a better idea, and just getting, you know, like 2 heads are better than 1, kind of thing. So, but no, I would never go to certain places, bring my whole container, expecting cheap health care, and then when I get there, things aren't, you know, you're just gonna keep hearing these fiasco stories. You know, there's different aspects of freedom or liberty. There's 2 different sides to it. For example, we went to Ecuador. I said that we lived there 8 years. The scene there is totally different when we were there. That people go abroad for freedom, and if you go in Cuenca, the popular expat town, what developed after a short time, this is just one example, it's not, but it's the kind of thing that gives you insight, it gives you an idea, oh, okay. Like you see the gringo neighborhood in Cuenca, what developed after a while is all the gringos showed up, and you saw these signs and these laws being passed. They were anti-noise laws that were passed in the gringo neighborhoods. And the sign said, if you hear any noise past this hour or whatever, call 911. And this just sounds just like America. And this is what I saw somebody say in the comments about all these people and all these bad things that are happening to these blue states, and all these Walmart closing their doors and people moving to red states. That's where it's booming. And somebody said, you know what? You shouldn't move to red states. You should just turn your blue state red. Whatever that means. I'm not, you know, this is not a debate about colors or philosophies. But somebody said, you should do that. You should focus on that. Stay put and focus on that. You say, I want my freedom, and what your neighbor wants is freedom. And so they play loud music. And freedom with responsibility is personal liberty. And the difference is just a very small difference. We both have freedom, but I take responsibility. So that means even though my neighbors, they will play loud music, you know, past 10 p.m. and, you know, and take your pick, Latin country, but this case was Ecuador. And it's their freedom. I'm not going to encroach on their freedom. And yes, I am trespassed by the noise. But I tolerate it. I put a headset on, I turn the show on or whatever, I put the headset on, shut the windows, and do what I can. Turn your fan on? Yeah, I mean, do what I can to tolerate it. Because I know that in order for me to have liberty, I need to allow other people to have freedom. But when you go to the gringo neighborhood, they actually had laws passed, call 911 if you hear noise. And, you know, I know what people are going to say. Well, Frank, They have to have the freedom the way they see their freedom. They want it quiet. I get that. And I'm not trying to tell people different strokes for different folks. I'm just saying though that personal liberty, I wouldn't trespass on my neighbor. I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't play music, in the middle of the night or whatever, past 10 p.m. Loud music blaring out of my windows when all the construction is all right next to each other, and I wouldn't do it. But that's responsibility on my part. I just wouldn't do something like that to my neighbor. I do think about my neighbor, and I don't want to do that to him. But not everybody's like that. But a toleration, and I've talked about this before, and people just get divisive over it. And I'm just saying that this conversation's not about choosing which side you're on. It's about how people go abroad for freedom or liberty and how it plays out. And so when you go into a neighborhood where the laws did not exist before, it's like the wheel is set in motion. And we've been talking about this for over 10 years. And back then, nobody was listening, or just a very few people. I wouldn't say nobody, I guess I'm exaggerating. There was a small number of people that were listening. And there always were. It's like, we told people, before we went to Ecuador, we wanted to live on the beach. But once we got to Ecuador, we realized that the place we wanted to see it with our own eyes. You can sit here and make the decisions based on photographs on the internet and what people say in groups. But that would be a really irresponsible way of doing things. So we wanted to see it with our own eyes. We went down there, saw it, went to the coast, traveled the whole coast. And of course, it's the ocean, beautiful ocean, just like any other ocean. We traveled for 3 straight months the whole coast, every little town, almost every, 90%. And we saw that we really wanted to be in the North Coast for one reason or another. But when we looked into it further, we realized that it would have been a really irresponsible thing to move to a it's not just calling it an earthquake zone. It's like there's a lot of earthquakes all over the world. I mean, you can't really sometimes avoid them, but why would you move somewhere that's in the top, say the top 5 or top handful or even top 3 or maybe even the top place that has the most seismic activity, earthquake activity?
I think Ecuador is number 7 in the top 10.
Anyway, it's in the top. And then that the construction is all, this just flaky cement block stuff that just crumbles. But people rush down there from Canada buying all those beachfront condos, and I was just shaking my head the whole time, blogging about it. And unfortunately, people lost their investment and they lost their lives. Now, this kind of thing is happening all over the globe now. We talk about going to El Salvador all the time, not because of Max Kaiser. We said in past videos, once you embrace this kind of mobile lifestyle, you're always thinking about, where could I go, or am I really happy here, or could I be happier over there? It might seem, does that seem like unimportant? Trivial? If you've decided you're gonna be mobile, that's something that people that are mobile think about. If you're real happy where you're at, you stay there. And if you're not, you think, well, maybe we should go over there, that kind of thing. And there are people that have decided to live their lifestyle this way. And so the analogy was the freedom that you have in Ecuador, or Ecuador is just an example. It could be any Latin country. You're going to get different versions of that freedom. And so guard said there were 7 bodies, some mishap with a boat, and there were 7 people that they were lost at sea and they couldn't find them. Something about 7 bodies unrecovered. So, and so the analogy of the freedom abroad, that it's becoming an avalanche. I'm just saying, you're going to hear of more and more disaster and fiasco stories from people that don't take the time. And I know that, you know, maybe you don't want to spend, that's the whole idea, you know, a month, spend every single day doing research and talking to, you know, 5,000 people. That's what talking to somebody like me is all about. And I mean, is it true that young people now have to go abroad? Listen, if you can go abroad, it means you're working online. You're working online. It's like you don't... It's just that you've been through so much, and you know, and you just realize certain behaviors lead to certain things, and therefore it makes you ask the questions nowadays since 2020. Why this push in the media? Because if it's coming from the media, then right there you just, you know, you're like, okay, well, you're skeptical. You're like, well, why this push for everybody to go abroad? You know, can everybody go abroad? Let's just fold up America and crumple it up, put it in the waste bin. Just America's here. It's like